Anthony. In fact, Anthony, I'm going to bring you on here. Good day, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right.
All right. So
happy to be here.
I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead and share your deck and we'll get started.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I can do that. All right. So I'm going to share my screen here. Very similar to your screen, actually. So we're going to be talking through the Great Copilot Journey. I did add my thumbnail from LinkedIn. I'm always posting on LinkedIn, so I figured I would add that there. Anybody that wants to follow along with the Copilot Journey that I'm on, I'm always posting stuff there. I went to Ignite, posted about that most recently, and I have some follow-ups on organizational kind of adoption, but from a modern take. So we have some LT that has posted some articles, and I kind of summarized some of it and pulled out my best parts. I'll be posting that later on today. So feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I try to stay active, but I also try to inform everybody of what's going on in the Copilot world. But again, I'm happy to be here today to talk about the Great Copilot Journey. All right. So the quick high-level agenda: what is the Great Copilot Journey? So level setting on that. Why does it matter, and how did this come to be? And then what are the different ways that you can get started with the Copilot Journey? There's a lot more ways than one, of course, with Microsoft to do something. And then we're going to jump into setup and configuration of the automated version of that. And then at the end, we'll just end with a call to action. So anybody that has anything for me or wants to interject in between conversations, feel free to chat in or message in the chat, and then we'll have somebody that speaks up and asks a question or makes a statement. All right, so with that, I'm starting with what is the Great Copilot Journey? At the end of the day, it's just a structured, repeatable path forward. The thing that's so special about the Great Copilot Journey is that prior to this being out, I would be working with marketing, I would be working with end users, I'd be working with champions, business decision makers, and what always came back was, how do we get started? What does that path look like? And I mean, there's always so many different ways that you can get started, right? And you can slice something. You can start from Copilot chat. You can start from Copilot. You can start from agents. But what this really does is helps you walk the line in terms of the different Copilots that are in Word, the Copilot that is in PowerPoint, and it helps walk you through different prompts and helps just kind of dip your toes into what the art of the possible. And really, all we're trying to do here is like plant seeds and help our end users understand the art of the possible. So there are, and I'll get into the next slide here, why it matters. What we've actually seen from the implementation of not only Copilot, but the Great Copilot Journey is that it's going to reduce, not just the Copilot, Great Copilot Journey. I wish it would have these numbers, but all up Copilot, just reducing the mundane work that we have to do every day. I don't know about you guys, but I always have Copilot open and more instances than one typically. So I'll have like the Copilot app open, I'll have the web browser open, and then I'll have Teams open. And not that all of them are on Copilot at the same time, but it's often that I'm jumping in between them for different thoughts and then allowing them to do their part. And then as it gets finished, I'm able to then to add the human element to it. So reducing that mundane like work that we typically have to do, and then being able to really add that creativity. So here, one thing that is really important, I think, is the daily users that we've seen that have implemented the Great Copilot Journey is that we've seen that they're twice as likely to increase adoption within 60 days if you implement this Great Copilot Journey. So one thing to note here is that the Great Copilot Journey is it's a structured setup from start to finish. It'll send, you can send it manually, or you can use the automation that we're going to use today to send prompts via email to a set of users. That set of users could be a pilot group, to kick it off and get started, just so that you can test it out. And then maybe you do cohorts and you have 100 people at a time or 1,000 people at a time, or you just do the entire company all at once. We've seen people go different directions, and I was talking about it this morning with another organization, and they had the idea that they wanted to test it first with a pilot group, then a cohort, and then go right into their executive leadership. So we're doing a little bit more QA because there's so much happening there. But at the end of the day, this automation, it came from OFT email templates originally. I broke it down into an automation, and then now it's an automated version of the Great Copilot Journey that sends emails on behalf of the person that has set that up. So we're going to be walking through that entire setup at the end of this call to get you guys understanding how simple it can be to install this and how easy it is to get started. I did this yesterday, and it took me about like 10 minutes, but I've also done it so many times. But usually when I do it with a customer, it takes about 30 minutes. All right, so at the end of the day, what are you getting out of this from like an end user's perspective, and why would we implement this? We have 6 weeks, and they have different themes along the way. The first one is kind of the art of the possible, like the most simplistic thing. So just getting to know how to use Copilot within your email, getting to know how to use Microsoft Word. Week 2 and 3, we're going to be seeing more of like that supercharging and diving into more skills-based expertise inside of Copilot. Week 4, enhancing collaboration. Week 5, we dive into the agent side of things. And then week 6, it kind of just goes over all the different weeks. And then at the end, you get a badge. So this entire package solution, again, it came from something that was manual. We automated it. And now this is like a one-time setup. And then through these 6 weeks, it's automatically sending these emails out to those end users that you have initiated through a mail-enabled security group. And then from that, they're receiving those emails. More than likely, you're going to be getting feedback along the way. What I've gotten feedback along the way over every implementation, and usually what they're coming back with is, how do I get more of these? And then we've customized email templates, like the email templates that I give you. There's a lot of organizations that have customized that because they're getting questions, and then adding like their support page and adding in more of the culture of that organization within that email template. So it is highly customizable as well. So going back to the different ways that you can implement that. So there's the downloadable starter kit. That's going to be the manual way. You would have a person that would literally be sending out OFT templated emails every day and customizing that to your needs. So that's one way. So you would have somebody that would send it every day at 9 o'clock. They would log on, they would send it, and that's a manual process, but that sometimes works for people. It just depends on what the organization is like. The web experience, you're able to get all of these 30 prompts, inside of a curated note list. And then the infographic journey, it really just walks you through it high level. So if you have like a support page, or if you're linking to something that says, hey, why are you getting this? Or as a reminder, this is kind of what's next week looks like. That's like a one pager that really wraps it all up. And then we have Microsoft is working on a solution to bring this in-house. So right now we've automated it through Power Automate, but now the next option is going to be you're going to be able to do something like this through Microsoft and through the admin portal, and we're getting pretty close to that. And then the solution that I've created is that Power Automate version that we're seeing here at the bottom. And as I mentioned, it's really easy to implement. We'll walk through that here in a moment. The biggest thing here is that it's consistent, it's automated, and you can set it up to be daily or weekly. And you can include these multiple languages and additions. So there's the 30-day prompt pack, and then there's a 50-day prompt pack. So if you wanted to do it 30 days, if you wanted to do it 50 days, you make that decision up front, and then it automatically will send out those emails for you. All right. Any questions in terms of how we got here before we jump into like the setup and other pieces of it? All right. What I'll do then is I'm going to keep cruising here. We're going to walk through the actual setup of this, and we're going to do the install, and we're going to do the whole 9. So let's jump into that.
Anthony, there are links that we could put in the chat, and that way people can actually walk through it along the way.
Absolutely.
And don't worry, we're going to post this video up on YouTube, and you can then review it again and share it with the rest of your team. So don't worry about if you miss anything today. We'll have it up on our YouTube channel, and we'll be sending that link out after the presentation.
Yeah, let me grab the link. For that, I'll bring over my Power Automate instance along with the link. There's the link. And here is the walkthrough of the actual install. We will get you the presentation so that if you feel like, hey, this was really great, I want to bring this back to my, the people that are in my organization, the powers that be there. I would highly recommend, we'll give you the slides. You can walk through it yourself, and then you'll have the Great Copilot Journey and all the setup and instructions in front of you. All right, so I did post the link for the setup instructions. So we have the setup instructions, and we also have the download included there as well. So the setup instructions, which we won't necessarily walk through step by step necessarily. Like I won't be doing it. I won't be bringing this on the slide here, but just to walk through it really quickly. You have to make a decision on who's going to be getting the emails. How are they going to be getting them? So is it going to be coming from the person that sets it up, or are they going to have it come from a distribution list? What does that look like? Are you going to use Copilot? And there are two versions. There's the Copilot version and the Copilot chat version. So you can implement, the Copilot chat, which would be the free version. So not everybody has a license, or if you want to implement two different versions of the Great Copilot Journey, you can do that as well. So one being for the paid license users, and then one for being the non-paid license users. And I do see the question, Stephanie hit the nail on the head. Can we get this to go inside of Microsoft Teams instead of an email? You have no idea how hard I've tried to do that. And I've talked to product group members and everything. So the way that we do get it to work there is that we can post it inside of a team channel, but we cannot send it to individual users unless we made this a paid version. So if we made it like an autonomous flow and we made it work that way, it could do that. But it would cost, it would come with a cost. So keeping it free, we implemented it this way through a Teams channel and through emails. And I will walk you guys through, kind of what that looks like for both the Teams channel and the email. Teams channel email address. The Teams channel email address. So I don't remember how those work specifically, but in my use case, I am using the group email to manage that. So you manage the members within the group. But a Teams channel, I know that was a feature a long time ago, and I don't remember where that is right now. But certainly something that if it is still around, then you can absolutely use that. Anything with an email. So let's just say it's a group, it's a distribution list, and it's a Teams channel distribution list, or one that you created in the admin center. They're the same thing on the back end. So you could use that if that ends up being the case. Absolutely. Okay, so going back to the download, so just planning a little bit ahead. So the who, what, where, when, why, and then going down, downloading the solution. We have the couple links here, which we could paste in the chat so that you guys can get your versions. Oh, there we go. Did not like my ability to copy there. There we go. Those are the two versions. So pasting that there so you have access to that. And then from there, we would import the solution. We're going to go through the configuration together. We'll set up the Teams channel and things of that nature. And then we'll just do a test run so you can see how it looks. And then at the end of the day, I mean, you'd want to do a pilot test within your environment prior to shipping it out to everybody. But ultimately, making sure that you're tracking the usage after the fact. So getting a baseline understanding prior to, and then getting an understanding of what metrics did we move with the Great Copilot Journey. And you're going to see that that people have engaged in different activity that they probably wouldn't have otherwise without that little nudge that they get through email or through Teams. Okay, so with that, we have to decide who's going to kick off the journey. So who's going to be the person that's going to be setting expectations and helping, drive not only from a technical perspective, but also from a culture perspective. So who can we have that would be the sponsor to this, that would set expectations, maybe send out a preliminary email saying, hey, you've been signed up for the Great Copilot Journey, or if you want to sign up for the Great Copilot Journey, go here. But ultimately, we like to see leadership do that, because when leadership says, hey, using this tool is okay, usually that's when the end users are going to say, okay, they said I can do it, so I'm going to do it. If they don't get the okay from leadership, whether it's a direct line to them or it's just a blanket statement, it feels, I've noticed, and actually at Microsoft was the same thing. When I was first doing my annual connect or my annual review a while back when we first got Copilot, there were people that were not using Copilot. I was one of the ones that was using Copilot, but generative answers and being able to use that for your creativity, people feel like it's cheating if you don't get that okay from leadership, and cheating because it generative AI in this case in Copilot, where it helps us so much that it's just like, getting started here, putting that through, having a sponsor then say, yeah, we want you to use this tool. We want you to be more productive. That's going to be something that really unlocks it. So again, that same model that you use for your other adoption, having that top-down adoption is important to have here at the Great Copilot Journey as well. Who is the notifications going to be sent to? Decide those notifications, who will they come from? So the person setting up the Great Copilot Journey, that's who they're going to come from, unless you have a user account that is a system user account. You can use that as well. Decide what journey content that you want them to receive. So is it weekly or is it daily? Is it Copilot chat or is it Copilot? And then going ahead and then setting up that frequency, whether it's daily or weekly. All right, so we're going to go through that next step, which is going to be downloading the solution, creating the list, and going through the import of that solution inside of Power Automate. And then we'll review the output of that at the end. So first thing, let's go through and import from Excel into SharePoint. That is an awesome feature if you guys haven't used that yet. This is a way that I get started a lot. I'll go inside of Copilot. I'll create something that like a framework of a table of sorts, and I'll do that inside of Copilot. And I do it there because a lot of times I don't think of everything, and I can't use Copilot to create columns necessarily just yet. So doing that in a way that that makes sense to me, that I can ideate prior to importing it into a SharePoint list. That's how I got to this place here. So I'm going to walk you through what that looks like as somebody who would be setting this up. Okay. So if I go back, so this is my Copilot at Contoso front page. So if this were my landing page, my source of truth for Copilot within my organization, this is where I would store that information. You can store it really anywhere, but I wanted to have like kind of a safe landing page for us. All right, so I have that, and now what I want to do is I want to go in and create actually a new list. So I'm going to click New here and then click on List. And so you have a ton of different options. The coolest thing is these templates. So if you haven't looked at these templates, they can help you get started. But what I did again is use Copilot to help understand, like, what does this table look like? What do I need to track? And then ultimately I created an Excel file from that. Now we can all import that individually wherever that makes sense. So I'm going to open up Excel here. I'm going to say upload a file. I've already uploaded it. You can see this was back when it was probably created a long time ago. I'm going to upload a new version. So I'm going to go here, open up my Great Copilot Journey, click on the journey here, and then click Open. So what that is it's grabbing the Excel file, it's ingesting the table, and now it's created not only the columns, but imported that content as well. So right now we've imported 30 prompts so far. There are some configuration pieces that we have to do now prior to finalizing that import, but you can see all that information that it's brought in. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and those are all the prompts and all different pieces of the email template that are being broken out into separate pieces so that it can be modularized as it's being put into an email. All right, so let's make a couple changes here. So one thing that we have to do is the intro here. We had to make sure that it's multiple lines of text. Sometimes it comes in differently. Scrolling down, conclusion, same thing. And all of this is in the instructions in the PowerPoint. And then down here, we have the prompt date, and that's not a number, so we have to move that to a date. All right. And then that's it. So just those 3 columns that we had to make sure that were the right columns and the right type of columns. And I'm going to click next. So I'm going to say demo, community demo. Let's do that. All right. So I'm going to create that list. It's creating it for me. Awesome. So now I've used the Excel file to create a SharePoint list, and it's imported all of that content. So if we scroll all the way down, we're going to get all the way down to day 30. Now, introduction, one thing that we couldn't do in that initial setup, we do have to change this to rich text. So right here, all I'm going to do is just click on this toggle button after editing the column, and that's going to turn into rich text. Just one thing that's needed for the HTML and for the Teams adaptive card to be built the way that we have it. So clicking save, that's the introduction. Let's make sure that that setting is on for conclusion as well. Click save. Okay, prompt date is already date. What I like to do though is keep it simple and not include the time. And then here is where we're going to set up, do we want this to run starting tomorrow? Do we want this to run starting X date? But for our purposes, in terms of testing this out, we're going to have it start today. We haven't picked who's going to receive it yet, or we haven't set up the flow, so it's not changing anything yet, but this is just getting it ready for that configuration. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to edit this field, go down and change that prompt date. I'll just set it to today. It's going to be, this is just for the testing purposes. So I'm going to click save. You can see that it has set that to today. And I could do the same thing here if I wanted to set this to tomorrow, so it automatically kick off at a certain time. And we'll set that time up here shortly. So you can see it says today, tomorrow, and then if I were to just have another one, just so I can give you an example of what that looks like. On Monday, so I'm choosing the days that I want these prompts to kick off. And I made it configurable this way because everybody has different holidays. Actually, the 4th is a holiday, so or not the 4th, but the Monday is a holiday. So I wouldn't set it to be Monday. I would set it to be that Tuesday. Okay, so I save that. And so now I've already pre-configured to set these 3 prompts off via the configuration that we're going to set up here in a moment. Now, this is the first step, creating the SharePoint list to store the information that we're going to use in the email template. Okay. And now the next step, which I've already done the install here, but I'm going to go back and then I'm going to do it in a different environment. Let's go here. I got to find an environment that I'm not using already for this. See, that one has it there too. So I've used a lot of these. Let's go to this one here. If I have it here, I'll delete it. Nothing. Great. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to click browse and I'm going to import the solution that we've downloaded from that page that we showed earlier. So I click download. It had a couple files in it. It had the Excel file, the extension file, and then the flow for the Great Copilot Journey. So I'm going to click open. I'm going to click next. Okay, we're good to go. It's unmanaged so that you can modify it without any issue. It's going to create some connections here for us. You can see they're all green. If it was red and it doesn't have a connection yet, you would go ahead and just create the connection. But it did that for me, so I'm going to click next. So now it is asking for some information. So the Copilot group email would be the email that you're going to be sending to the end users, whether that's a pilot group or that's the official group. Then we have the admin email as well, so that if this fails, it will send an email to the admin saying, hey, this failed. Please review this because there's an issue. There's the prompt list site and the prompt list. So this is going to be the site that we're going to pick. So we showed you the Copilot site here, and then I created a new list. And then down here, do you want to send an email? So you can configure this to send a Teams card or to send an email or to do one or the other. So you don't always have to, like, if you don't have to set this up to send 30 days of emails, you could send 30 days of Teams channel adaptive cards that would then go into a channel for adoption. I like the emails because it comes and it feels more personal. I would love for this Teams card to be sent to them individually, like Stephanie had mentioned earlier. But that's just not a capability under like the free context. If we were to have, you know, a flow that would be paid for either on their PayGo or the Copilot credits, we could make that, you know, an instance where it would actually send it to the individual user. We do that here at Microsoft, not necessarily for the Great Copilot Journey, but for other things. And it does work really well, but keeping that free anyways, you know, having it there. So let's go through and fill this out. I'm going to go in here. So the legacy, let's see here. What do I want to do? I want to grab that email. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that email real quick. So this is just my demo tenant, so I can kind of show things off here. Journey towards legacy. So this is the email. I'm going to fill that out. The admin email, I'm going to say is myself for the time being. The prompt list, that's going to, or the prompt list site is going to be that Copilot site that we showed. We're going to do the community demo that we just imported. And then send email, yes, test activated. So if you were going through a test and you wanted to test this as an admin, basically this, if you were to say yes here, it's only going to send an email to the admin. And it'll do the prompt. It'll do the prompt at the time that it's supposed to run. And I'll walk you through what that looks like. But ultimately, if the test is activated, that means you're going to be testing it. And the only emails that are going to be sent from there are going to be going only to this admin email that you put in. So I put that in there because people were asking, how do we test this before we go live with it? You can have a pilot group, you know, put into this group email, but they wanted a way to make the admin feel better. So this is where I came up with the option here for the activated test here. We're going to keep that as no for the time being so that it gets sent to the email. And then config the Teams card. We're going to say yes because we do want that to send to the Teams channel. So I'm going to click import. This might take a moment here. We're going to see that turn green in about a minute. So let's go back to the instructions while that's cooking. We're going to go back to the instructions and just make sure that we're following them here. So the first thing that we did was create the SharePoint list. Basically import the prompts from the Excel file. It imported all the content. We modified a couple of those columns that are called out here. And now we're at the point where we're importing the solution and configuring the environment. So far we went to solutions. We imported the solution from the downloaded package. We've talked through the configurations here. And now we're going to go down and publish the solution once that is ready. And you can see here that's still cooking. If I need to, I can always switch over to an instance that I already have created if this takes a moment. One thing I will show you as an output. I'm going to give you an example of what this looks like. So here's an example of what it looks like. That didn't load correctly. There we go. So as you're sending things out, you can see here that this is day 2. So it's not the first day. The first day is like a welcome email and things like that. But you can see as an end user, this is like an end user getting the email from the Great Copilot Journey. Every day for 30 days, they would get an email like this where it's formatted in the same way every time. So it's templatized, very easy to digest, you know, within a minute or two. So it walks you through, identifies what it is, the purpose of the card, and then what day you're on, just for context, you know, are you coming close to an end and things like that. And then walking you through the prompt of the day. The coolest part about all of this is that if I click on this button here, it's actually going to pre-populate inside of Copilot that prompt. So it's clicking on a prompt and it's allowing the end user then to simply open, like it just clicks, it opens up Copilot and then automatically types out that prompt. So you don't have to copy and paste, bring it into different applications or do any more work. That was one of the issues I think during initial adoption, is that we didn't have these quick links. So this is kind of like a bookmark to a pre typed out prompt, and it automatically opens that up for you. So again, just kind of looking at this card here, scrolling down the description of the prompt, the actual prompt itself, and then this is where we can kind of customize it for the organization. So if you have organization logos, if you have organizational content that you want to include, you can include, like, let's say you would go to your center of truth, right? So that your center of excellence for Copilot, and that's where you're going to support people with questions, or maybe you have a homepage that describes what the Great Copilot Journey is. That's where you would want to link to something like that inside this email, making it really easy for people not only to see, hey, I got a new email, these are the steps that I follow, but then how do I get more of this, and how do I get more engaged? Something like that in this email that's automatically being sent can really help with that. All right, going on to the next steps here. Not that one. Okay, so we're good. We imported the Great Copilot Journey flow. I'm going to open that up. Just loading here. We're going to be patient. All right. So there are a small number of components that are in here. So there's 11 components. And on the left side here, we could click through them individually. So we don't necessarily need to in this case, just because there's only 11. When we build Power Platform solutions like this, it can get a long list of 100 components. But in this case, it's smaller, so we're just going to use the big list here. All right, so we set up all of our environment variables on import. So the admin email that we put in, we saw that earlier. And I just put in my email. Let's see here, the config send email. So this is all the config ones here are the toggle buttons, whether do you want to send an email, do you want to send a Teams card, or do you want the test activated? The Copilot group that's going to be receiving these emails that we just saw. And then here we populate not the list, but the list site first. You can see here when I'm opening this up, and if I wanted to modify this because I changed something, you can go back and configure that after import. But again, here's that site that I had created with the list that I created in the site with you guys. So what I'm doing here, this environment variable, it's really special actually. The great thing about this is that you can modify the workflow and what it's looking at from outside the workflow. So you don't have to open up the workflow, and the benefit to that is every time you open up the workflow, there's risk involved that you could break something. There's a new connection that could be created. It's kind of like if you have like the skeleton key to a house and then something goes missing, the person that had went in there, or anybody that has a key, can be one of those people that says, hey, have you been in here? You had access. In this case, just not opening it up makes it a lot easier for us as a Power Platform makers that we can make modifications outside the workflow so we don't accidentally break something. All right, now we're going to open up the actual workflow. So I'm going to click on the workflow itself. We do have to make one modification in here if we are going to be using that Teams channel. So I'm going to click on edit here to edit that workflow. Right now it won't run, and it's technically turned off until I fix some of the issues that are in there. And the issue being, I need to make the connection to the Teams channel. So there's a lot of different steps that are in here, and we can kind of briefly go over a few of these in a minute. But the first thing that I want to do is open all of them up. One thing that I would say, if you guys ever open up Power Automate, or if you are a maker and you're creating workflows for either yourself or your team or your organization, I can ask questions here about the workflow itself. I can say, I didn't test this beforehand, so bear with me. Let's go through it together. So I'll say, help describe what this workflow does and its objective. So we can actually ask it questions, not only about the technical things, but about the business side of things too. So you can see here that it gave me back, a high level overview and the objective, like I had asked. If I wanted to be more specific in terms of the formatting or anything like that, we could do that. So this is technically Copilot under the hood. It's just like using Copilot inside of Word, but this is inside of Power Automate. So being able to ask it questions and getting answers is absolutely amazing, especially when you have to create documentation. So going through this here, the first couple of things that we do is we set up the variables so we can use them later. I guess the first thing we want to configure, though, taking a step back, is how often do you want to set this? So right now we have it going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's at 9:30. So if we wanted to change that, so this is 9:30 in the morning at Central Time. If we wanted to change it, and I think 9:30 because then more people are in the office. They're not just getting there. They maybe have sat down, grabbed a cup of coffee, and will actually be able to digest this. But if you wanted to push it to later or certain days and such, this is completely configurable. Going down here, this is actually where it goes and it understands what prompt should I be sending out today. So it grabs the variable of, is there a prompt to send today? If I find one that, when I filter the list to today, if there's one that's still there, then I'm going to grab that information. I'm going to send out the prompt. Now, if all goes well, it goes through the happy path. If it doesn't, it's going to send the admin a prompt error. So saying that, hey, something went wrong. I wasn't able to get the information that I expected. And it's going to send that admin an email. And that's why we have that admin email that we put in there earlier. Now, one thing that we want to just kind of take a peek at here is this is the adaptive card JSON behind the scenes. So you can see it's using it's using the SharePoint list information inside of there. And that's how we were able to make that so repeatable, is by building a template around the information that we have inside that's stored inside of SharePoint, and then pulling out individual rows to make sense of that information, and then sending that in an email to build that beautiful card that we saw earlier. So same thing here. Here's the HTML that we had built. Basically, what I did is I saw the email that was sent out from the OFT, that from the original email. I turned that into HTML, and then I copy and pasted it into here. Replace some of the headers, the days, and some of that easy, bucketized and modularized information, and then put that in here, stored it in the SharePoint list, and now they're working together where I don't have to do this manually anymore because I'm able to modularize it through HTML and the JSON for the adaptive card. So as it goes through the configuration, when we had the config and we were saying, yes, I want to send emails, yes, I want to send the Teams card, that's where you would have, this is where those decisions are made and followed by the logic. One thing that we do have to do inside the workflow itself is just modify what team it's going to go to. So we cannot do that outside the workflow like we could for the SharePoint list. We can't do that yet, but at some point I would assume that we can. So right now we're going to just click on the journey towards legacy. That's my team that I'm using for this demo. And then we're also going to add the channel. Previously to where we are today, we actually had to copy the team ID and the channel ID into here, and it was horrible trying to find those. So having these drop downs really makes a difference. And then here with the adaptive card for the Teams channel, it's actually grabbing that variable information and then just bringing that in here for us. So storing it elsewhere so it's easy to modify, and if we modify it in one area, then it trickles throughout the entire workflow. So modularizing things in that fashion helps us. So now we've set up the entire workflow. We went through, we set up the list, we set up the dates. Now we're setting up the solution and the workflow. Everything is configured at this point. So we're going to go back. See if
Hey, Anthony, before you do that, there's a couple of questions that kind of go back into the Power Automate piece.
Sure.
One thing somebody was asking, actually, Magnus was saying, so they're through something in chat saying, hey, by the way, one of the images in there is not coming through, the Copilot image that usually is on top of the banner. Okay. I don't know if that's even something you can configure inside that Power Automate. So that's something we want to call out. And then I think the other one, which I like this one from Joseph, is, how am I able to do it to my paid license users versus my Copilot free users. And I think part of that is how you're going to configure the Power Automate to send it out to which groups. And
Yes.
you will need, and I will tell you this, Joseph, you will need to have, actual groups created for that are mail enabled so it can go to that. So that would be one piece of it, but yes, you can make some changes to that. So I want to call those out because I think that's relevant to the Power Automate piece you're talking about.
Absolutely. So let me just take a step back, and what I'll do is I'll open up that that part where we talk about who's going to be receiving these emails, and then we'll talk about how do we send it to paid versus non-paid. So being able to send it to paid, well, I guess in terms of best practices in managing licenses, it's going to be through group applied licenses. So you would have a group that anybody that's in that group is going to receive a license. So if you have a group for Copilot licenses, you have a group for Power Automate licenses, you have a group for E3 or E5 licenses. A lot of times, well, best practice wise, and what we would recommend is that you manage those groups, you manage those licenses through groups. And because you're already managing them through groups, you'd be able to easily use that the DL that's attached to those groups, and then send it directly to those users that either have the license or don't have licenses based on the group that they're in. So that's one way in terms of getting the email. And then the way that you would configure that inside of the Power Automate here is that you would then just bring that email that's relevant. So in this case, we downloaded the Copilot version. So we would want to put the Copilot group DL inside of the current value in this variable. And then that will send that'll send, daily prompts then to those folks. Hopefully that helped a little bit with the clarification around how to get the group. So you might have to go through, like at Microsoft, we have a whole process and how we create distribution lists. So if you have to, you might have to follow up with like your IT to get a distribution group created. And then from there, then you can use it. Or they might already have, like I said, they might be managing their licenses through groups, and then you can just get that email that's already being populated. Awesome.
Yep. And then about the broken image, is that something you have access to be able to even go in and make a change to?
Yes. So what I did recently is I flipped the images from where they were before, and we were using images from different places, and so I consolidated it into my GitHub. So that might have been one that I need to go back and check and just make sure that that was consolidated and and it's pulling out of the same area as the other images. So what I would be able to do is modify the solution. You'd have to re-download the solution and then upload it, or you can go ahead in terms of, let me just open that up. If you uploaded a new version of the solution and then you just grab that adaptive card JSON, so if you grab it from here, paste it into the new version, then you would have that updated version. So what happens basically is we hard coded some of those images to be in there, and we soft coded some of them as well. So that one looks like it could have been missed, or maybe there's an issue with the way that it's been imported. But once we get through this and we run the test here, we'll be able to see kind of what that looks like. And if we're all having the issue, I can go back on my side and make the fix, and then you just have to re-import, and it'll only take a few minutes. Awesome. All right, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to kick off with the actual workflow now that it's set up, and hopefully this goes right and that it actually executes the way that we want it to and everything. Okay, so it says, hey, check the flow checker because you cannot turn it on yet. So let's go back and see what's going on with that. Oh, you know what? It's probably because I didn't publish it. What it likes to do when I publish it is sometimes turns on. And I say sometimes because it's not all the time. Yeah, so it turned on and it ran it right away. So know that the way that you have this set up, this has nothing to do with me or you. It has everything to do with the product. So when you set this up and you turn it on, it does sometimes kick off immediately. So know that the configuration that you have set up. So if you've already pre-populated it with the group that you're going to be using to send out these emails, just make sure that that the test email is turned on, because when you turn this on here, it will be kicking it out right away to whatever that configuration is that you set up. There's really no way of getting around it. That's just the way the product works. So we saved it, we published it, and it thinks that, hey, you published it, so I should turn this on and run it right away. Not sure why, but that is the way that it's set up. So I'm going to click refresh here. You can see that it's succeeded. Okay, you can we get all these really big green check boxes now, which is amazing. So following the green check boxes, the happy path. So here we did not have the admin emails turned on. So if we did, it would then just go this path and that's it. But since we are going through the entire happy path here, you can see all the green check boxes all the way to the end. And if there was a failure at the end, then there's also another email that gets sent out too. I did not mention that earlier. So here, I'll just open this up. You can see here that it's sending then the Teams card and the Teams email, or sorry, the Outlook email. So far, so we've ran a test, so we should be able to see that now in our Outlook. Awesome. So now we're seeing in the email that we have the Great Copilot Journey. We have the week 1. Let's save time with Copilot. This is that welcome email that I was mentioning earlier. And then scrolling down, week 1, are you ready? Again, another prompt that we can click on. Pre-populated text. It's helping me, just jump right in and already type into, adding in an individual, for this prompt, which is pretty cool. So it's not just giving you blanket text; it's actually functioning right when you open. But again, I'm just kind of looking at this email. This one does work for me right now, so I'd have to go back and look what are the possible issues with the image. But if anything, I do have here in the chat. I wonder if we have emails. Yeah, it looks like we do have emails. So if you guys do have any issues, feel free. There's a couple blogs out there, and I can post the blog title. I've been keeping up with the blogs. Anybody that has comments or issues, that's been kind of the way that we've been triaging it. So I can post that link here. So if you have any issues and you need help, I can always help you out. But scrolling down, this is the way it looks. I mean, and you can customize it. So again, it looks beautiful the way that it is, but there are a lot of companies that want to customize this, and that's the way that it looks there. So let's open up the general chat here, the community demo. Oh, here's the one that, was it in Teams? Yeah, it looks like you had that one in Teams too. Okay, so maybe there's a Teams issue rather than an email issue. So there might have been something that's changed inside of Teams since the image hasn't changed, but Teams could update and there could be issues with it. So let me look into that and see how we fix that. We have other images that are popping up fine, so that we really shouldn't be seeing any issues with the images. But since it's inconsistent, there's something that's going on there. Let me take a look, and I can follow up and post an update there. However, this is how it turns out inside of Microsoft Teams. And so it's the same thing. You would click this button, it would open up then Copilot and have that pre-populated for you. But again, this is an easy way then to go back and look at all of the prompts that are being sent day by day, because they are going to be posted here as well as in people's emails. So that is the end of the install and configuration. So I said it was going to go quick. I explained a lot of different pieces in between it. The technical aspect of it and having to build it and get something production ready, like what I had to go through to get it here, was really difficult. Production ready things can take a lot of time. When it's already ready for you to import, that's where we save a lot of time. So I spent a lot of time making sure that you guys could just plug in like you did, like we showed with the configuration. You could just plug in those answers and then you could run with it. So we spent a lot of time to make sure it's really easy for you to implement at your organization. If you run into any issues, again, we'll post a link, make sure that you guys have that, and you can give feedback there. And if you have any issues, feel free to reach out. One thing I want to circle back to is the call to action. So choose your rollout path. You can kind of look at the different versions of it, whether you're sending it out manually or you're automating the process. There's that one slider on all up. What is the Great Copilot Journey? As a reminder, it's any of these options are really low effort. And so just thinking through that, sending this over to your your adoption lead, or if you just in your department, you're saying, hey, this would be really great for my department. It doesn't have to go to everybody. It can go to a subgroup, and any which way that you have a distribution list, you can make it easy for yourself that way. And then also just making sure that you're tracking those through the Copilot dashboard. So making sure that you're getting results on the investments that you're giving. And in this case, you'd be able to track that through the Copilot dashboard.
Awesome, Anthony. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This is really great. Thank you for letting me walk through it. Does anybody have any questions or?
Yeah, if you've got a question, we can.
Please raise your hand. Yeah. So Magnus, go ahead and come off mute.
Yes, thanks a lot for this is great. And as I wrote in the chat, we actually, when the Great Copilot Journey content was released a year ago, then we adapted it ourselves in Power Platform and basically done the same solution.
Way.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
awesome.
kind of tricky. So images are difficult. So we have been running. So I work for a 20,000 employee company, and with around 2,000 Copilot licenses, and we have like 500 people that run it. We have ran it in cohorts, September, October, November, December, and then we had kickoff meetings, we had debriefing meetings 2 weeks into and 4 weeks, and then a closing session. So, but now in February, we're going to run another cohort or starting up the work again. And I'm wondering if we should switch to your solution here, which is much more professional with the error handling and the admin coding, and just the solution is good as well. We just had it as a flow, Microsoft list and like that. So, and also another thing that I want to say, that the people that have taken the journey, they are asking for agent journey. Can't you do something similar for agents? I said, I
like that.
Yeah, but they love having nano learning. They know in the morning they come to, and they do 10 minutes of Copilot training each day, and they know tomorrow it will be the same. They really love the Funny Friday things.
Yes.
Give me a roast of my work week, etc. So it's a good content.
Yeah.
One specific question.
I was gonna say one thing that Magnus had said, just for everybody else on the call. On Fridays, they give you like a funny prompt. So there's 4 days of like professional building stuff, but then on Friday, it'll have you go out and create an image. It'll have you create a funny prompt, and so they do incorporate. It's not just like dry and like you just click on it and you forget about it. They're trying to work with people where they are, and that's why they have built the Copilot Journey the way they did. So thanks for pointing that out, Magnus.
Yeah, that's good. So one specific question. So I'm just a citizen developer. I'm a trainer. So I've been mucking about in Power Automate like that. And I know that the date field is, oh, wow, that's difficult depending on SharePoint, like how the site is configured in like the region and etc.
Oh, yeah.
So I got stuck on that on your flow, that it didn't find the item. Is that something on SharePoint then, or how can I solve that to get it? Do you know about that?
Yeah, so you're saying the date, and then there was like an issue with the date field?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just show you what I would say that you'd want to look at here. So making sure that the date field is truly a date and time. And then you could have, I think you have to turn off the time. So if you have time on there, turn that off and give it a try. The friendly format I know does not matter. So
because I see that in the flow you query on the like year, month, day, but in SharePoint it might be day, month, year, like that. It's not about that. The format in Power Automate, how you filter. It shouldn't matter.
Okay.
But I think here's the thing.
Maybe I'll reach out to you afterwards. I think we need to close the call.
And keep in mind, Magnus, you guys developed your own thing. This probably already has that solution in there that you can probably download and look at it too, as a way to be able to understand how they're doing that.
Yeah. No, Anthony, I can reach out to you separately. I shared a screenshot in the chat there as well. So yeah, but it would be great to get this to work for us, and then we can run it.
Yeah, so we are I am consolidating the way that we're looking at the date. So we should be able to handle what you're talking about, how, Europe might look at it differently or the US might look at it differently.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It is.
That might be
Okay,
the case,
good.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, Magnus, for that. Now, one thing, Anthony, that had come up in the questions was there any plan to augment that SharePoint list? Are you going to do more to it? I feel like, again, that's a little bit out of scope of what really the Great Copilot Journey is about. But I was going to say to that person is, you could actually use Copilot to create your own ones and add them into that to continue that journey and utilize this as a after the fact type of thing. And for that matter, somebody was asking about agents and could we do an agent one? Yeah, you can make your own if that's the case, right? So you just add to that SharePoint list the ones that you want that to do. Yeah.
You absolutely can. The one thing that you'll have to watch out for, and this was like the first question that I get from a lot of customers is, so I'll say, give me a daily briefing, prioritize based on best practices. I'm just making something up so that I get something back here. So I'm going to send that. So the way that you would go about customizing what those prompts look like when you click on the button and then you want to create, let's say you want to create one that's more specific to your organization and not use the templated ones. It's actually really easy to build this into a custom prompt. So the way that you would do that is you would just go over here, you click on, I might not be able to do it if I don't have, oh, there you go. Okay, good. You click on the copy prompt link. So once you initialize a prompt, it gets stored into that user's account and then is accessible by the organization. So you have to originally send that link, or sorry, send that prompt, and then you create a link and then share it. Yeah. So that's the way that you would be able to customize this. So to your point, all you'd have to do is create that prompt there, and then you would customize that template inside the SharePoint list, and you'd be off to the races.
And create and take some time and develop what you want from a prompt, or ask Copilot to be able to do that and then test it, that particular prompt, and then grab that link. That's a great point, Anthony. Okay. All right. I don't think I see any more questions right now, but I know there's some follow-ups that you're going to do. But thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate your time today, and amazing. Good job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.